Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Birds Television with Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan. We're presented, of course, by DraftKings Sportsbook, the nation's #1 sportsbook app. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ITB when you sign up to get bonuses. All right, Adam, we got a couple of topics we want to hit right now on ITB TV. We have the return of Corey Clement. We'll talk about that. Another Eagle could be returning on the horizon, and we've got some developments. Oh, yeah, I've got some info on that, and we've got some developments on the team's virtual off season. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do here, man. We drop nuggets, right?
Man, I'm new to this show. Can you explain? I just knew around these parts.
So here's how we do it. No, actually, I want to start with you because obviously we talked last podcast, our NFL draft recap podcast. We went through some of the holes that still remain on the roster, and we noticed that they really haven't done anything at running back. And as we record this today, about an hour and a half ago, and today is Wednesday, the 29th, if anybody wants to know.
The Eagles scooped us.
The Eagles scooped us because you had some info on this, and you were saving it up.
Yeah, I was going to break the story on the show. I do that occasionally when I know that I'm pretty certain no one's going to know. This one, I knew it was going to happen within 24 hours, and I wanted to put it on here, and because Eagles scooped us on their own information. But anyway, okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah,
Geoff. So
Corey Clement's back.
Yeah. So why do you think they would bring him back?
Well, I mean, if you look at their current cast before Corey Clement, right? You had Miles Sanders, who you and I both agree is now that's your back.
He's the guy.
That is your workhorse running back. He's the guy, right?
As you called week 2 last year or 3, although he got benched then, you're like, this kid's special. He needs when he got the job back. Oh my God. When he got the job back, my God, he was just incredible. He's a special.
Yeah, I don't know if people realize this, Adam, but he finished 8th in the NFL last year in yards from scrimmage, combined offensive yards.
Wow.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, my Graham Barfield from the new website from John Hansen, fantasypoints.com said 11 most touches, 18. I don't have it in front of me. I think it was like 18.7 in the games that he started after Jordan Howard got hurt, something like that. Right. I think it might have been 11th overall. Anyway, you could see how good he is, but in today's NFL, Geoff, you got to have guys to back him up.
Right. And what we noted is that really behind Miles Sanders was Boston Scott, who really was kind of that third down back that Darren Sproles was before Darren Sproles got hurt. And that's what led to Boston Scott's development. And he played well, but he's really got those characteristics of a third down back. And then after that,
it's a change up.
Yeah, the change up. And then after that was Elijah Holyfield, who I believe was on the Panthers practice squad last year until the Eagles signed him late. And he hasn't played at all in the NFL. So it's not like that they were very deep. It's not like they had a bunch of veterans. So we felt like they could use somebody who A, knew the offense, and B, had played in the NFL before. Now, I know LaShawn McCoy's name has come up, and you seem to have information on that.
Yeah. So what happened is we reported over the last 2 months that we put it out at the Combine that Corey Clement had shoulder surgery and that the Eagles probably would not tender him as a restricted free agent. That's what happened. They didn't tender him. But I didn't know that the Eagles really wanted him back until a couple of days ago. I had heard through the grapevine that Corey might be coming back, and they had open communication with Corey's agent, Frank Murtha, I believe, and they decided to bring him back. And Corey's should be on the field wherever. Well, of course, field. What am I talking about? We don't know when they're going to have a field to be on, but look, if they had an off season in June, he would be on the field, barring a setback. But they don't even then. You're not taking contact. See, here's the problem with Corey. We know how talented he is and what he can do as a running back. Another reason why I'm told the Eagles want him back, special teams value, tremendous. Sure. Whether it's return where he's decent, but coverage, he's a jack of all trades. You could play him on third down, goal line, red zone. He does everything. You know what he did in 17. You know what he did in the Super Bowl. But he's just been hurt. 2 years ago, significant knee injury. I believe he had surgery for it. Then he went on IR. He had a significant shoulder surgery, had the surgery like around November, went on IR of last year. So look, that's why they didn't tender him. How do you justify giving him the RFA tender, although it's a low tender, giving him more than the minimum because he just been hurt? So I'm sure it's a 1-year deal. I'm sure that's what it is. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure that's what it is. Now you mentioned LaShawn McCoy. The only reason why I talked about McCoy, 3-4 weeks ago, is that we were asked from our fans or listeners, hey, would they consider, because they need a veteran running back, bring back McCoy? I checked on it. We put it out that it wasn't out of the question that he returned. It kind of shocked me, but I'm just repeating what I had heard. And I sort of analyzed it, Geoff. And here's a question this is actually what we talked about when we talked about McCoy. The guy was inactive for the Super Bowl, Geoff. So My understanding is they want to bring a veteran running back. They're going to sign one. Okay, that's what I'm reporting. But I'm not saying it's going to be shady. I just know that he's on their list.
Mm-hmm.
But could you really depend on him at 32 years old? The Chiefs didn't want him back. The Bills didn't want him. They traded him. I mean, if Sanders were to suffer injury, Jeff, tell me, what could you do?
No, it wouldn't fit the personality or the identity of the team right now and what they're doing. They're going through a youth movement. They're clearly focusing on dynamic players with speed. Now, it's not like Corey Clement is dynamic from a speed standpoint, but I think this kid's easy to root for, man. I mean, he is a Super Bowl hero. I know it's been a while now, but if you can remember 100 yards receiving in the Super Bowl, an amazing touchdown catch, another amazing catch and run that set up the Philly special touchdown.
I could see it in front of me.
I mean, I feel bad that he's had all these injury problems the last 2 years. I mean, I really don't know what kind of NFL long-term player he is, but I would just love to see him stay healthy, get a chance. He's over 200 pounds. So while I wouldn't call him a bruiser, I think he is a good potential number 2, number 3 running back for this team. Do you think, Adam, that this is the veteran running back that they're signing, or do you still think they're going to bring in another guy?
My understanding is they're probably going to sign anher veteran. When I say another veteran, Corey's technically not a veteran. He needs one more year of service.
Right.
But my understanding is they'd like to. We've been asked about Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is a tremendously gifted player, but you have to ask yourself: Niners, Texans, Jaguars. Why does he keep moving on?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Is it because he's not that great and that running backs are fungible? Is it issues with the locker room? I have no idea. I mean, I've never heard anything bad about him, but it does make sense that what you're saying is that he's bounced around to a lot of teams.
Yeah, you just have to ask that.
He doesn't have staying power. You have to wonder.
Yeah, but he's gifted, man. This guy's a former second-round pick. He could catch the ball. I remember talking to Carlos at training camp with the Niners, and he explained to me how great Kyle Shanahan's offense was because it gave him so much space to run. He did well there, but the bottom line is he's been on 3 teams. Remember, we put out on our show maybe 3 weeks ago that won't be Spencer Ware, though. Will not be Spencer Ware. I thought that would be a great fit. I mean, he fits. He knows the offense real well, but we'll see. They're probably going to sign a veteran running back who would fit. The thing is, without Jordan Howard, if Sanders were to suffer an injury, who's that back who could handle volume if they need it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's
I'm not
the
sure
point.
If they have that.
And that's why they're probably going to sign a veteran who could handle at least 10 carries. There are a bunch of them out there who could do that.
Well, I've talked about Devontae Freeman. I think he fits.
That would be one of them. Yeah, in terms of being able to fit that mold.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, because you mentioned about how there might not be any camps, right? And I want to get into that because that's a real big deal, and I'm finding out it's an even bigger deal the more I talk to people. But real quick, I kind of hinted toward it earlier about a return of another Eagle. I have been told that Vinny Curry is probably close to making his decision. He just recently got engaged, by the way.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
To Vinny Curry.
Okay.
And the Eagles are definitely in the mix. I was told that. And the decision could be coming as early as this week, the end of this week, or next week. So I think by this time next week, I would suspect that Vinny Curry will have a home. And I kind of, my educated guess would be that it wouldn't shock me at all if it was with the Eagles. They're in the mix, and I know how much Vinny loves playing for them and being in Philadelphia.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was just going through their needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this about depth. Depth is not having 10 players at a position. Depth is, as a coach, you feel comfortable with the guys you could put in there. Right now, Josh Sweat's shown that he's a solid backup player. Who are their solid backup ends right now that you trust?
No, it's a big kind of somebody's got to step up, right? Like, Vinny will be in there and we know what Vinny can do, but we've talked about this. They've got Jannard Avery, they have Josh Sweat, they have Sharif Miller, and to a lesser extent now, I think Joe Osman. I don't know if he factors in the way he does. That's 4 guys. And as you're saying, that doesn't mean you're deep. It means you got names. Somebody of those names has to step up. I think if the organization could choose one, Adam, they would want either Jannard Avery to be that one because he brings a trait that's a little bit different.
Fast. Yeah. They don't have a fast edge rusher. They have length. They have power, but they don't have anyone who's fast. Now, another reason why they should bring back Vinny Curry, because of the shortened offseason, if there will be any offseason, you want someone who could just come in, plug and play.
Great point.
Avery is not even. Avery barely played. They were hoping that he was what we called an off-season project. Well, there's no project to use because you don't have an off-season.
Yeah.
Geoff, these virtual, you can't call them camps, online classes that the coaches are having around the National Football League. That's great, but they're not getting on the field. And that's to me why you have a veteran.
Well, and I'll tell you this, as we transition into the last topic, spoke with a coaching source very recently, and even the virtual off seasons are difficult right now. The Eagles are having just issues getting everybody on the same page. They've just brought in a massive amount of players through the draft. You want to try to Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or whatever with these guys, which means you have to have them. You have to be constant communication. I know this just dealing with my own kids and their school, and there are multiple teachers, Adam, and you get a different Zoom ID and a different password and a different time that you set up. There's all this stuff going on. It's very fluid, and everybody's having difficulty getting on the same page. So it's a process. I'm sure they knew it was going to be difficult, but you were hoping that these times where the guys are away from the coaches, that they're able to bridge whatever gap they can through technology, but it's not been easy. It's been actually very difficult.
When you say not on the same page, what is there anything specifically that they're having an issue with?
Well, you have so many, right? Like, we know this. You have 1 or 2 coaches per each position, but at this point, when you bring in so many players, you can have 10, 11, 12 players. I mean, how many defensive linemen do they have, right? 1 defensive line coach, maybe, and an assistant. So you're trying to get in touch with as many people and go through the playbook. And to do that, it involves setting up these Zooms like that you and I are doing right now. And then to do that, you have to make sure they're home at the right time. They have the right technology.
Okay.
It's just a ton of
logistics
planning and logistics, planning, coordination, and it's easier said than done. That's what I was told.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, Geoff, I do want to add before we get out of here. So I've talked to a bunch of coaches about the challenges of this offseason. And I would say of the dozen or so offensive coaches I've talked to, they almost seem to all agree, and some of the personnel people as well, the 2 biggest positions that are going to get hit the hardest without getting on the field are quarterback and wide receiver. It's classroom environment is awesome. It's great. You can go over the playbook and you could, whatever video they're showing you, but they're not going over footwork. Like they may say, hey, okay, this has got to be a 5-step drop. That's great. But if you're not out in the field doing it, Geoff, you're not getting that on-field instruction. And then when the coach could correct you. Now, I know that all practices are taped, and the big one is wide receiver. It's even worse for receiver because it's all about footwork. It's all about knowing where you're going. And if you're not being taught, and remember, they have a new coach now, Aaron Moorhead, who I've heard has really got a chance to be a great coach. But when you're not on the field, Geoff, this is a problem. So, it's good that the Eagles trade for Marquise Goodwin. It's good because he's a veteran. Whether he's a 4th receiver or not, it's not the point. The point is he's someone who's done it before. Deshaun Jackson, obviously, who's my God, is this his 13th year? Is that right?
I think it is. Yeah,
How 2008. Is that possible?
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
How is that possible? Where the hell's the time? My God.
How is it possible that I'm covering Monte Rieger's child now?
Yes.
What? Yeah, dude, I remember covering Monte Rieger.
How do you not have gray hair, by the way? Do you color it?
No, if I probably get close enough, you can see.
My dad did, but anyway.
Real quick, along the lines of what you're talking about, I continue to get the same feedback from people around the league that the teams that have head coaches and quarterbacks that have been in place for a while, like Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, are going to fare better than the teams that have the new coaching staffs and either the new quarterback or they spent a lot on a lot of new free agents.
It's new volume. It's also new volume of playbook
we're talking about.
Yeah, right. It's just not going to be easy, but these guys are professionals. They're supposed to be the best in the world at it. They're going to have to get it done.
Well, you look in the own division, NFC East, 3 teams, all of them other than the Eagles have new head coaches. Now, they don't have new quarterbacks, but new head coaches with new playbooks and new schemes. So it gives the Eagles a little bit of a leg up in that department.
Correct. Right? Yeah, Joe Judge, a new Giants head coach, doesn't want to hear that, by the way. He's so funny. He's so trying to be like Belichick. He's a Philly guy. I'm rooting for him. I've heard a lot of good things about him. He's just really funny. He's just trying to do everything like Belichick.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
One of 3 head coaches in the NFL that hail from the Philly, Montgomery County area, right? It was Sean McDermott and Kevin Stefanski. All
correct. And Joe Judge. Yep.
Joe Judge, right. There you go. So it must be a hotbed for NFL coaches. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds TV. I want to let everybody know that we are bringing Greg Cosell back. He's going to be on our next podcast, which drops Thursday, April 30th, 6 a.m. He's going to review the draft, the Eagles draft with us, and give us the skinny and his breakdowns on many of the kids that the Eagles.
And by the way, I haven't talked to Greg since the draft, so I have no idea how he feels.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, whatever he gave us on our pre-draft show with him, that's all I know about his players. So this will be fun.
It will be great. All right, so check that out. Check out InsideTheBirds.com. We're about to supply it up with some new, fresh content. And, of course, we want to thank our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out Sports Talk with Broads on YouTube and his podcast, Processed, with former Villanova star Darrell Reynolds. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode of ITB TV.